The brass handle of my worn black suitcase was slick with sweat. Each rotation of the wheels against the carpet measured the distance between survival and capture. Too slow. Always too slow. I'd been living in this high-rise for 2 months, always taking the service stairs. Today, the building manager had called about a mandatory inspection, forcing everyone to use the main elevators. Of course, because my life wasn't complicated enough without walking through a space where Liam might see me. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Now, let's jump right back in. The hallway stretched before me. Marble walls, crystal chandeliers. My sneakers squeaked, announcing my presence. I kept my head down, counting steps, 43 to the elevator bank. Then I could vanish to the lobby and disappear to the new apartment across town. Alara. The voice froze me. My stomach dropped. Alara, wait, I know that's you. Footsteps behind me, quick and determined. I clutched the suitcase tighter and walked faster, 35 steps to the elevators. Don't you dare ignore me. His hand clamped on my shoulder, spinning me around. My suitcase toppled. Liam looked exactly as he had 6 months ago. Light brown hair, gray eyes, dark jeans. I need to leave. Please let me go. Let you go? Just vanished one day. Changed your number. We were building a life together. We were never building anything. I righted my suitcase. I explained everything in my note. 1.5 years together and you end it with a note. Do you have any idea how that made me look? Everything always circled back to him. I'd spent 18 months trying to shrink myself small enough to fit his vision. We weren't good for each other. His hand shot out, gripping my wrist, not hard enough to bruise, never hard enough to leave marks. Let go of me. We're making a scene. Just come back to my place. I don't want to talk. Too bad. You don't get to just walk away. I twisted sharply, breaking his grip. My suitcase wheels scraped as I spun away, lunging toward the elevators. Alara. I slammed my hand against the call button. Behind me, his footsteps gained ground. The door slid open. I threw myself forward without looking. My shoulder collided with something solid. The suitcase handle slipped. Strong hands caught it. I stumbled backward, looking up. The stranger stood at least 6'3", dark blue suit, visible tattoos at his collar and wrists. Dark hair swept back. A scar traced his jawline. I'm sorry. Alara, get back here. Without thinking, I lunged into the elevator. He stepped aside. Please, I whispered. His gaze flicked past me. Something dark crossed his features. Then his hand moved, pressing the button. Wait. Liam shoved his hand forward. But he shifted. His body became a barrier. Liam's hand hit his chest and stopped. For a heartbeat, the two men locked eyes. Liam's expression changed. Confusion, recognition, then fear. He took a step back. The doors slid shut. The elevator lurched upward. I sagged against the back wall. My heart hammered. 6 months of looking over my shoulder, and in 30 seconds, all that distance had evaporated. Thank you. Floor numbers ticked upward. 12, 15, 18. Your belongings are safe. His voice was low and controlled. He set my suitcase beside me. What floor? Lobby. He pressed the button. The elevator climbed before beginning its descent. We stood in silence. My mind kept replaying what had just happened. This stranger had simply blocked Liam with presence alone, and Liam had backed down. Ilara. The way he said my name made something in my chest tighten. He's my ex-boyfriend. I ended things 6 months ago. The elevator descended. 18, 15, 12. Does he often chase you? There was something cold beneath the calm surface. No, I've been avoiding places he might be. He gave up after the first month. Or I thought he did. And when he finds you again. Because that was the truth I'd been avoiding. Liam didn't give up. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I slid down to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. He remained standing. I'm Alara. Adam Silas. Thank you, Adam. Most people would have just let the doors close. Most people don't understand what they're looking at. What do you mean? Your ex-boyfriend, he's not going to stop, is he? I keep hoping he will. Hope is not a strategy. No judgment, just facts. What else am I supposed to do? You could accept help. I looked up at him. From you? Yes. There was no hesitation. What kind of help? The permanent kind. I pulled my knees closer. What does that mean? It means I can make sure he never bothers you again. The words hung in the air. Something final and absolute in his tone. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm offering. But why? He was quiet for a moment. I don't appreciate men who chase women through hallways, and I have the resources to do something about it. What kind of resources? The kind that solve problems efficiently. The tattoos. The way Liam had backed down. The expensive suit. The absolute confidence. You're not just some businessman. No. What are you? He tilted his head. Does it matter? It might. I'm someone who operates outside conventional boundaries. And I'm someone who wants to help you. I should have been terrified. But instead, I felt relief. What would you want in return? Because there was always a price. Your trust. I blinked. That's it? For now. His lips curved. I'm not a charity, but neither am I in the habit of taking advantage of vulnerable people. Consider this an investment. In what? In someone who interests me. I don't know what to say. Say yes. I don't even know what I'd be agreeing to. You'd be agreeing to let me handle your problem. To let me ensure that man never touches you, never follows you, never speaks to you again. Protection. From you. From me and my organization. Your organization. Yes. I wrapped my arms around myself. This was insane. I'm in an elevator with a stranger who just admitted to being part of some criminal organization. This was how people disappeared. But then I thought about Liam's face. The way he'd grabbed my wrist. The 18 months of slowly losing myself. The 6 months of running. The exhaustion of always looking over my shoulder. If I say yes, what happens next? Next, I will make a phone call. By tomorrow morning, your ex-boyfriend will receive a very clear message about the consequences of continuing his behavior. You'd hurt him? I'd educate him. The floor display blinked. 6, then 5. The sending. I need an answer, Alara, before these doors open. Yes. I'll accept your help. Adam smiled. Good. The elevator chimed. The doors began to slide open to the lobby. He picked up my suitcase and handed it to me. Give me your phone. I fumbled it out. He took it, typed something, then handed it back. A new contact appeared. Call me when you get to your new apartment. I'll need the address. That's it? For now. He stepped out, then turned back. One more thing, Alara. Yes. You're under my protection now. That means you're safe. He smiled, then walked away across the lobby. I watched him disappear through the front doors. The contact name read simply, Adam. I stepped out of the elevator, suitcase in hand, and walked toward the exit. For the first time in 6 months, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I stood outside the building, the late afternoon sun warming my face. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, Adam's contact burning like a brand. The street was busy with people rushing past, oblivious to the fact that my entire life had just shifted on its axis. I pulled out my phone and stared at the screen. Just a name and a number. Adam. Nothing else. No last name in the contact, just that single word. My hands were still shaking. What had I just agreed to? I'd accepted help from a man who'd openly admitted to operating outside conventional boundaries. A man with tattoos that suggested a life I knew nothing about. A man who'd made Liam back down with nothing more than a look. I should have been terrified. I should have deleted the contact and disappeared. But instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in 6 months. Hope. I started walking toward the corner where I could catch a car. My suitcase wheels clicked rhythmically against the sidewalk. Everything I owned, reduced to 20 kilograms, and desperation. That's what Adam had said, and he'd been right. My phone buzzed in my hand. I nearly dropped it. Unknown number. My heart rate spiked. Liam. It had to be Liam. He'd somehow gotten my new number. He'd tracked me down. I answered with trembling fingers. Hello? You haven't called yet. Adam's voice was calm, controlled. Are you still outside the building? I exhaled slowly. Yes, I'm walking to catch a car. Don't. The single word stopped me mid-step. What? Don't catch a car. Look to your left. I turned. A black sedan was parked at the curb, engine running. The back window rolled down, and I caught a glimpse of someone in the driver's seat. Get in, Adam said through the phone. My driver will take you to your new apartment. How did you? I told you. You're under my protection now. That starts immediately. I stared at the car. This was real. This was actually happening. A strange man I'd met 20 minutes ago in an elevator was now sending cars for me. Alara. His voice softened slightly. Get in the car. Trust me. Trust. That's what he'd asked for. That's what I'd agreed to give him. I walked to the sedan. The driver, a man in his 50s with steel-gray hair, stepped out and opened the back door. He took my suitcase without a word, placed it in the trunk, then returned to his position. I slid into the back seat. The leather was soft, expensive. The interior smelled of bergamot and something woodsy. I'm in the car, I said into the phone. Good. Give Marcus the address of your new apartment. Marcus? My driver. He'll get you there safely. Call me once you're inside. We'll talk later. For now, just get somewhere safe. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, then at the back of Marcus's head. He was watching me in the rearview mirror, patient and calm. Where to, miss? His voice was gravelly but not unkind. I gave him the address. He nodded once and pulled smoothly into traffic. I leaned back against the seat, my heart still racing. Through the window, I watched the city slide past. People on sidewalks, living their normal lives, completely unaware that mine had just been turned upside down. My phone buzzed again. A text this time. From Adam. Breathe. You're safe now. I read it 3 times. How did he know I was holding my breath? How did he know I was on the verge of a panic attack? I typed back. How did you get my number? His response came immediately. I get what I need. You'll learn that about me. I should have found that threatening. Instead, I found it oddly comforting. For 18 months with Liam, I'd been with someone who promised protection but delivered control. Someone who said he'd take care of me but really just wanted to shape me into what he wanted. Adam had made no promises except one, that Liam would stop. And somehow, I believed him. Marcus navigated through traffic with practiced ease. We drove in silence, and I was grateful for it. My mind was too full, too chaotic to make conversation. 20 minutes later, we pulled up in front of my new building, a modest apartment complex in a quiet neighborhood, nothing like the high-rise I'd just left. Marcus retrieved my suitcase and walked me to the front entrance. Mr. Silas said to make sure you get inside safely, he said, handing me the suitcase. Thank you. He nodded once, then returned to the car. I watched him drive away before turning to my new building. My phone was already in my hand. I pulled up Adam's contact and hit call. He answered on the first ring. You're inside? Not yet. I'm at the front door. Go inside, lock the door, then we'll talk. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, my suitcase bumping against each step. The building was quiet, just the sound of my breathing and the wheels scraping against worn carpet. When I reached apartment 3C, I fumbled with the keys the landlord had given me yesterday, finally getting the door open. The apartment was small. A studio with a kitchenette in one corner, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and a single window that overlooked the parking lot. But it was mine, and more importantly, Liam didn't know about it. I locked the door behind me, checking it twice, then put my phone to my ear. I'm inside. Door is locked. Good. Adam's voice was steady through the speaker. Tell me about the building. Security? Cameras? How many exits? I glanced around, then moved to the window. It's a small complex, maybe 12 units total. There's a main entrance and a back exit that leads to the parking lot. No security that I've seen. I don't think there are cameras. He was quiet for a moment. That's not ideal. It's what I could afford on short notice. I understand, but it's also what makes you vulnerable. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the only furniture in the room besides a small table and 2 chairs. So what happens now? Now I need some information from you. Your ex-boyfriend's full name, where he works, where he lives, any details you can give me. My stomach tightened. Why do you need all that? Because I need to know who I'm dealing with. I need to understand his routine, his connections, his vulnerabilities. His vulnerabilities, I repeated. You're going to threaten him. I'm going to educate him, Adam said, his tone unchanged. There's a difference. I stood and paced to the window, looking out at the parking lot below. His name is Liam Porter. He works at a CrossFit gym downtown, Peak Performance. He lives in Riverside. I think he's still in the same apartment we shared. Number 847 inches, the Riverside Towers. Does he have family in the city? His parents live in the suburbs. He has a younger brother who goes to college out of state. Friends? Close associates? Mostly people from the gym. He's tight with the owner, Derek something. I don't remember his last name. They go way back. I could hear Adam typing in the background. What about his habits? Does he have a routine? He's at the gym every morning by 6. Teaches a class at 7. Usually stays until noon. Then he either goes home or meets friends. Weekends he's there all day. Good. That's helpful. I don't want anyone to get hurt. No one will get hurt unless they choose to escalate. I'm simply going to have a conversation. A very direct conversation. I closed my eyes. This feels surreal. This morning I was just trying to leave my building without being seen. Now I'm talking to someone about having conversations with my ex-boyfriend that involve consequences and power dynamics. You asked for help. I'm providing it. I know. I trailed off, not sure how to finish that sentence. You're having second thoughts, Adam said. Shouldn't I be? Probably. After tomorrow, you can stop looking over your shoulder. You can go to work, go to the gym, live your life without wondering if he's going to show up. And you? Where do you fit in after tomorrow? Wherever you need me to fit, Adam said. I told you, you're under my protection now. That doesn't end just because your immediate problem is solved. I turned away from the window. I still don't understand why you're doing this. You will, he said. Eventually. For now, just accept that I am. Get some rest. I'll call you tomorrow afternoon. Adam? Yes? Thank you. Don't thank me yet, he said, and then the line went dead. I barely slept that night. Every sound in the building made me jump. Footsteps in the hallway, doors closing, the rumble of pipes in the walls. I kept checking my phone, half expecting a message from Liam, half expecting one from Adam. Neither came. By morning, I was exhausted but wired. I made coffee in the small kitchenette, using the cheap pot the landlord had left behind. The apartment looked even smaller in daylight. Bare walls, scuffed floors, a single window with thin curtains that did nothing to block the sun. But it was mine, and Liam didn't know about it. My phone rang at 9 o'clock. Unknown number again. Hello? It's done. Adam's voice was calm, almost casual. I set down my coffee cup, my hand trembling. What do you mean it's done? Your problem is handled. He won't contact you again. The words hit me like a wave. Relief flooded through my chest, so sudden and overwhelming that my knees went weak. I sank onto the bed, pressing my free hand against my mouth. Just like that, my voice came out shaky. It's only been 12 hours. Yes. I laughed, the sound half sob, half disbelief. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. Thank you. The words felt inadequate for what he'd just given me. Thank you, Adam. I've been running for 6 months. 6 months of looking over my shoulder, changing my routine, jumping at every sound, and you fixed it. That's what I said I'd do. I stood and walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot. The morning sun was bright, the sky clear. Everything looked different somehow, lighter, like a weight I'd been carrying had suddenly vanished. I can go outside without being afraid, I said, more to myself than to him. I can go to the store. I can go for a walk. I can just exist. You can live your life. Yes. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass, feeling tears prick at my eyes. I'd forgotten what that felt like. There was a pause on the other end. You're crying. Happy tears, I said quickly, wiping at my face. I promise. I didn't realize how much I needed this until it was done. Does that make sense? Yes. I turned away from the window, looking around my small apartment. It didn't feel quite so bare anymore. It felt like possibility. Like a fresh start that could actually be fresh instead of just another temporary hiding place. I don't know how you did it, and I don't need to know, I said. I just need you to know that I'm grateful. More grateful than I can express. Noted. His tone was still that same controlled calm, but I thought I heard something else beneath it. Satisfaction, maybe. Or approval. So what happens now? I asked, sitting back down on the bed. Is it really over? Just like that? Just like that. He's not going to change his mind? Come back in a week or a month? No. The certainty in that single word made me believe him. Whatever Adam had done, whatever he'd said, it had been effective. Permanent. Then I'm free, I whispered. You're free. I closed my eyes, letting that sink in. Free. After 18 months of slowly losing myself in a relationship that had felt like drowning, then 6 months of running and hiding and constantly looking over my shoulder, I was actually free. Someone will deliver new locks this afternoon, Adam said, breaking into my thoughts. Better quality than what you have now. There'll also be a panic button installed. Okay. I didn't question it, didn't argue. If Adam thought I needed better security, then I needed better security. He'd proven he knew what he was doing. They'll arrive at 2 o'clock. Be there to let them in. I will. Thank you, Adam. For everything. Get some rest. You look like you need it. I blinked, glancing around the empty apartment. How do you know what I look like right now? I know. The line went dead. I pulled the phone away from my ear, staring at it. That should have been unsettling. The implication that he could see me somehow, that he was watching. But instead, I felt oddly comforted, protected. I set the phone down and lay back on the bed, staring up at the water-stained ceiling. For the first time in 6 months, I wasn't planning my next escape route. I wasn't mentally cataloging exits and safe places. I wasn't listening for footsteps that might be Liam's. I was just lying on a bed in a small apartment, breathing freely. The exhaustion I'd been holding back crashed over me all at once. My eyes grew heavy. The sounds of the building, the traffic outside, the distant voices, they all faded into comfortable background noise instead of potential threats. I didn't fight it. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt safe enough to sleep. Really sleep. Not the fitful, half-awake state I'd been existing in for months, but actual rest. As I drifted off, my last conscious thought was of Adam's voice. Calm, controlled, absolute. It's done. And I believed him. I woke to knocking at my door. Disoriented, I checked my phone. 1:30. I'd slept for 4 hours straight, the kind of deep, dreamless sleep I hadn't had in months. The knocking came again. Firm but not aggressive. I smoothed my hair and opened the door, keeping the chain locked. 2 men stood in the hallway, both wearing dark shirts, with a company logo I didn't recognize. One carried a toolbox. The other held what looked like electronic equipment. "Miss Alara," the first one asked, "we're here to install your security upgrades." I unlatched the chain and let them in. They worked efficiently, barely speaking to each other, or to me. Within 30 minutes, I had a new deadbolt, a reinforced strike plate, and a small panic button mounted near my bed. The one with the electronic equipment showed me how it worked. Press and hold for 3 seconds. Signal goes directly to Mr. Silas's security team. Response time is under 5 minutes anywhere in the city. "Thank you," I said. They packed up and left without another word. I was examining the panic button, running my finger over its smooth surface, when my phone rang. "Did they finish?" Adam asked. "Yes, just left." "Good, I'm outside." I went to the window. The black sedan was parked in the lot below. Adam stood beside it, phone to his ear, looking up at my building. Even from 3 floors up, his presence was unmistakable. He lowered his phone when he saw me. "Come down," he said through the speaker. "We need to talk." My stomach flipped. "About what?" "Not over the phone. Come down." The line went dead. I grabbed my keys and headed downstairs. When I pushed through the front entrance, Adam was leaning against the sedan, arms crossed. In the afternoon light, I could see the tattoos on his hands, the way his suit fit perfectly despite his build. "Get in," he said, opening the back door. "We can talk out here." "No, we can't." I hesitated, then slid into the back seat. He got in beside me, closing the door. The tinted windows made the interior dim, private. "You've been in that apartment for less than 24 hours, he said. "Already you're more relaxed." "I can see it. I slept for 4 hours straight. First time in months." "Because you feel safe." "Yes, because of you." He studied me for a long moment, his dark eyes intense. "You need to understand something. You're mine now." I blinked, then blinked again. Did he just say what I think he said? "I'm sorry, what?" "You're mine. My responsibility. Under my protection." I stared at him. Just stared. This man, this absolute stranger I'd met approximately 30 hours ago in an elevator, had just declared ownership of me like I was a stray cat he'd decided to adopt. He continued, completely oblivious to the fact that I was currently reconsidering every life choice that had led me to this moment. "Which means I need to know where you are, what you're doing. If anything feels wrong, you call me immediately." Was he serious? He looked serious. He always looked serious. For all I knew, this was his face when he ordered coffee or watched television. But surely, he had to hear how absolutely unhinged this sounded. "You understand?" he asked. No, I did not understand. I understood that I was sitting in a car with a man who apparently thought we'd skipped several crucial steps in human relationship development, like, I don't know, dating, getting to know each other, learning each other's last names. "Alara?" I realized I was still staring at him with my mouth slightly open. I closed it, then opened it again, then closed it. I probably looked like a fish gasping for air. "Are you all right?" he asked. All right. I was sitting next to a man who just casually announced I belonged to him now, like this was a completely normal thing to say to someone you'd known for less than 2 days. This was not all right. This was the opposite of all right. This was so far from all right that all right was a distant memory. "You're looking at me strangely," he observed. Yes, I was. Because he was strange. This whole situation was strange. Yesterday I was running from my ex-boyfriend. Today I apparently belonged to a tattooed man in an expensive suit who spoke about protection like it came with a deed of ownership. "Did you hear what I said?" he pressed. "Oh, I heard him. Every single insane word." "You're mine now," he repeated, slower this time, like maybe I hadn't understood the first time. "That means I need to know you're safe. Always." I continued staring. At some point, my brain would probably catch up with my mouth and I'd be able to form words. But right now, all I could do was look at this man who'd somehow decided in the span of an elevator ride that I was now his personal responsibility / property / whatever category I apparently fell into in his very organized, very intense mind. This is a lot I finally managed. It's simple. You're under my protection. That comes with certain expectations. Expectations. He had expectations. Of course he did. I think we might have different definitions of the word simple, I said slowly. How so? How so? How so? Where did I even start? Maybe with the part where we'd known each other for 30 hours, or the part where he'd just declared me his, like we were living in some kind of alternate reality where that was a normal thing to do. You just said I'm yours, I pointed out. You are. But I'm not. You are, he repeated, with the same calm certainty he'd probably used to discuss the weather. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. This was like arguing with a very attractive, very tattooed brick wall. I helped you, he continued. That makes you my responsibility. That's not how helping works. It's how my help works. I pressed my fingers to my temples. Maybe I was still asleep. Maybe this was a very weird dream brought on by 4 hours of actual rest and my brain didn't know how to process feeling safe anymore. Are you always like this? I asked. Like what? So intense about everything. I'm not intense. I'm clear. Clear. He thought he was being clear. This man who just announced I was his property thought he was being clear. Right, I said faintly. Clear. Of course. He leaned back slightly, studying me with those dark, penetrating eyes. You think this is strange? It wasn't a question, but I nodded anyway. Because yes, this was strange. This was possibly the strangest conversation I'd ever had, and I'd once had a 40-minute argument with Liam about whether clouds had feelings. You'll get used to it, Adam said. Will I, though? Will I really? I should go back upstairs, I said, reaching for the door handle. Tomorrow I'll send someone to take you shopping. You need more than what's in that suitcase. I turned back to look at him. You're sending me shopping? You need clothes, supplies. It's handled. Handled. Everything was handled. I was handled. Apparently, I was also his. Okay, I heard myself say. Because what else was there to say to a man who decided to reorganize my entire life in under 2 days? I stepped out of the car and headed back to my building. When I reached the door, I glanced back. Adam was still sitting in the sedan, watching me with that same intense expression he seemed to wear permanently. I went upstairs, locked my new locks, and sat down on my bed. You're mine now, I repeated to the empty room, testing the words. Then I started laughing. Because what else could I do? I'd escaped one controlling relationship only to apparently stumble directly into the protection of a man who thought declaring ownership was a reasonable second conversation. My phone buzzed. A text from Adam. Lock your door. I looked at my door. At the new deadbolt. The reinforced strike plate. I texted back. Already did. His response came immediately. Good, that's what I like to hear. I dropped my phone on the bed and fell backward, staring at the ceiling. My life had gotten very, very weird. I spent the rest of the afternoon trying to convince myself that what had just happened in that car was normal. Perfectly normal. Just a regular conversation between two people who'd met in an elevator while one was fleeing her ex-boyfriend. Except it wasn't normal. None of it was normal. I paced my small apartment, phone in hand, replaying the conversation in my head. You're mine now. Who said that? Who actually said that to another human being they'd known for less than 2 days? Adam Silas, apparently. That's who. I flopped onto my bed and stared at the ceiling. The water stain above me looked vaguely like a map of Italy, or maybe a deformed giraffe. I couldn't decide. What I could decide was that I might have made a terrible mistake. Liam had been controlling. Yes. Manipulative. Absolutely. But at least he'd worked up to it. There had been a progression. First date. Second date. Slowly eroding my boundaries over 18 months until I didn't recognize myself anymore. Adam had skipped all of that and gone straight to, you're mine, in less time than it took to watch a movie. I grabbed my phone and pulled up Sarah's contact. My best friend. The one who'd taught me that self-defense move. The one who'd helped me pack my suitcase 6 months ago. I typed, I think I've done something stupid. 3 dots appeared immediately. How stupid. Scale of 1 to Liam. Possibly worse than Liam. That's not possible. Nothing is worse than Liam. I accepted help from a man I met in an elevator yesterday. What kind of help? The kind where he solved my Liam problem in 12 hours and then told me I belonged to him now. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. I could practically hear Sarah trying to process that information. I'm coming over. No, don't. It's fine. Probably fine. Alara Rose Bennett, if you don't send me your address right now, I will track your phone. I sent her the address. 20 minutes later, there was aggressive knocking at my door. I checked the peephole, saw Sarah's familiar face, and let her in. She was exactly as I remembered. Short, dark hair, athletic build, eyes that missed nothing. She walked into my apartment, looked around, then turned to me with her hands on her hips. Explain, she said. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. I sat down on the bed and told her everything. The hallway, Liam grabbing me, running into Adam, the elevator, the conversation yesterday, the phone call this morning, the car conversation an hour ago. Sarah listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from concerned to confused to absolutely incredulous. When I finished, she sat down next to me. So let me get this straight, she said slowly. You met a man in an elevator. He blocked your ex-boyfriend, solved your 6-month problem overnight, installed security in your apartment, and then told you that you belong to him now. Yes. And you're still alive and unharmed. Yes. And he hasn't actually done anything threatening. No. He's been helpful. Extremely helpful. Also extremely intense and possibly insane. Sarah rubbed her temples. Alara, I love you. You're my best friend. But your taste in men is genuinely concerning. I know. You went from a manipulative narcissist to a possessive crime boss. I think he's a crime boss. He hasn't actually confirmed that. He has tattoos, expensive suits, and solved your stalker problem overnight. He's definitely a crime boss. She turned to look at me. Are you attracted to him? What? No. I mean, he's objectively attractive, but that's not the point. It's exactly the point. Because if you're attracted to him, and he's already declared you his, this is going to get very complicated very quickly. I thought about Adam in that elevator. The way he blocked Liam without hesitation. The calm certainty in everything he said. The intensity of his dark eyes. The way my stomach had flipped when he'd said, "You're mine." Oh no, I said quietly. What? I think I might be attracted to him. Sarah dropped her head into her hands. Of course you are. Of course. Because having one disaster relationship wasn't enough. Now you need to be attracted to a man who thinks he owns you. He doesn't think he owns me. He thinks he's protecting me by declaring ownership. He's very confused about how normal human relationships work. And you're considering this anyway. Was I? Was I actually considering whatever this was with Adam? I thought about how I'd felt this morning when he'd called to tell me it was done. The relief, the safety, the first real sleep I'd had in months. The way he'd looked at me in the car like I was something valuable that needed protecting. I might be losing my mind, I said. You're definitely losing your mind, Sarah agreed. But at least you're aware of it. My phone buzzed. We both looked at it. Have you eaten today? I showed Sarah the text. She raised her eyebrows. He's checking if you've eaten? Apparently. That's actually kind of sweet, in a controlling, overbearing, your mind kind of way. I typed back. Yes, I've eaten. What did you eat? Sarah leaned over my shoulder. Is he seriously asking what you ate? He's seriously asking what you ate, I confirmed. Coffee and a granola bar. That's not food, I'm sending dinner. I looked at Sarah. She looked at me. Okay, Sarah said slowly. So he's a crime boss who's decided you're his responsibility and is now micromanaging your meals. This is your life now. This is my life now, I agreed. Is it weird that I'm kind of jealous? Like, nobody's ever sent me dinner just because I ate a granola bar. It's very weird. Everything about this is very weird. But you're not going to tell him to stop. I don't think he'd stop even if I asked. Fair point. Sarah stood up. All right. Here's what's going to happen. I'm staying until this dinner arrives because I need to see what kind of food a possessive crime boss sends his new. Whatever you are to him. I don't know what I am to him. You're his. He was very clear about that. I groaned and fell backward on the bed. I've traded Liam for someone even more intense. This is worse. This might actually be worse. At least this one feeds you, Sarah offered. That's not comforting. It's a little comforting. My phone buzzed again. Dinner arrives in 30 minutes. Make sure you eat all of it. Sarah read it over my shoulder and burst out laughing. Oh, you're in so much trouble. I know, I said miserably. But somewhere under the misery and confusion and absolute certainty that I'd somehow made my life more complicated, there was something else. Something that felt suspiciously like anticipation. The next morning, my phone rang at 8 o'clock sharp. There's a car waiting for you downstairs, Adam said without preamble. Be ready in 20 minutes. Good morning to you too, I muttered, but he'd already hung up. Sarah, who'd ended up sleeping over after the dinner incident, which had been enough Italian food to feed 6 people, rolled over and groaned. Is that your crime boss boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend. Does he know that? I didn't have an answer for that. 23 minutes later, I walked outside to find the black sedan waiting. But this time, Adam was standing beside it. In daylight, he was somehow different. Dark jeans instead of a suit, a fitted black shirt that made him look less like a businessman and more like a regular person. Almost approachable. The tattoos on his forearms were fully visible now, and I found myself wanting to ask about them. You're late, he said, but there was no real heat in it. You didn't say it was urgent. He opened the car door, and as I slid past him, I caught that sandalwood scent again. Everything about you is urgent. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. The drive was quiet. I watched the city pass by, awareness of him beside me making my skin feel too tight. Finally, I couldn't take the silence anymore. Why are you doing this? I asked. I told you, you're under my protection. No, I mean, why are you personally taking me shopping? Don't you have people for this? He turned to look at me, and something in his expression softened. I wanted to. 2 words. Simple, honest. And somehow they hit harder than all his declarations of ownership combined. We pulled up in front of a boutique that looked expensive, and my stomach dropped. Adam, I can't afford anything in there. I know. He got out and came around to my door, offering his hand. When I took it, he held on a moment longer than necessary. Let me do this for you. There was something in his voice. Not command, but something closer to a request. Like my acceptance actually mattered to him. Why? I asked again, softer this time. He was quiet for a moment, still holding my hand. Because you ran down that hallway with everything you owned in one suitcase. Because you deserve more than that. Because I want to give it to you. My throat tightened. I'd been so focused on his intensity, his declarations, his overwhelming presence that I hadn't stopped to think about what was underneath it all. He wasn't trying to control me. He was trying to care for me. Maybe in a slightly unhinged way. But the intention was there. Okay, I said quietly. His fingers squeezed mine gently before letting go. Inside, the saleswoman greeted us warmly. As she began showing me options, I kept glancing at Adam, expecting him to take over, to make decisions for me. But he didn't. He just watched. And whenever the saleswoman asked his opinion, he'd look at me first. Do you like it? He'd ask. Not we'll take it. Not deciding for me. Actually asking. When I emerged from the dressing room in a soft blue dress, something shifted in his expression. That color suits you, he said quietly. I looked down at myself, then back at him. You don't think it's too much? I mean, for everyday wear. I think you should have beautiful things for no reason at all. The words caught me off guard. There was no possession in them, no command, just a simple belief that I deserved good things. I disappeared back into the dressing room before he could see the tears prickling at my eyes. When had anyone last thought I deserved something just because? After we finished shopping, Adam took me to a small cafe instead of the expensive restaurant I'd expected. We sat by the window, watching people pass by. Thank you, I said, for today, for everything. He reached across the table and took my hand. His palm was warm, calloused. You don't have to thank me. I want to. I looked down at our joined hands. I'm not used to people just doing nice things without expecting something in return. I expect something, he said. My heart sank a little. Of course. There it was. What? I asked. I expect you to stay, he said simply. Not because you're afraid, not because you owe me, but because you want to. I looked up at him. His dark eyes were intense as always, but there was something else there now. Something vulnerable. I don't understand you, I admitted. You say these intense things about me being yours, but then you ask if I like a dress. You tell me what to do, but then you hold my hand like you're afraid I'll run. Who are you, Adam? I'm someone who's not very good at this, he said quietly. At caring about someone. At showing it in ways that make sense. But I'm trying. The honesty in his voice undid something in my chest. You're doing better than you think, I whispered. His thumb traced small circles on the back of my hand. We sat like that for a long time, not talking. Just existing in the same space. It felt more intimate than anything Liam had ever done in 18 months. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Anything. The tattoos. What do they mean? He looked down at his forearm, at the intricate designs winding up to his elbow. They're a map. A map of what? Of everywhere I've been. Everyone I've lost. He looked back at me. And room for where I'm going. Where are you going? His eyes held mine. Wherever you are. My breath caught. This man, this intense, overwhelming, slightly terrifying man, was looking at me like I was something precious, like I mattered in a way that had nothing to do with possession and everything to do with choice. I should be running from you, I said softly. But you're not. No, I'm not. I tightened my fingers around his. I don't know if that makes me brave or stupid. It makes you mine, he said. But this time, the word felt different. Softer, like a promise instead of a claim. And for the first time since I'd crashed into him in that elevator, I didn't want to argue with it. 3 days passed in a strange, peaceful bubble. Adam called every morning. Sometimes he'd send food. Sometimes he'd just check in with a simple, "Are you safe?" that made my heart do complicated things. Sarah said I was in deep. She was probably right. On the fourth morning, I woke to pounding on my door. Aggressive, familiar pounding that made my blood turn to ice. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. 7 missed calls from Adam, 3 texts. Don't open your door. Call me now. I'm on my way. The pounding continued. Then his voice. Alara, open this door. We need to talk. Liam. My hand flew to the panic button beside my bed. I pressed and held for 3 seconds like I'd been taught. Alara, more pounding. I know you're in there. I know someone's been threatening me. Was it you? Did you send someone after me? I backed away from the door, own clutched to my chest. Adam answered on the first ring. Are you safe? Are you away from the door? Yes. My voice came out as a whisper. He's outside. He's angry. I know. I'm 2 minutes away. Stay on the phone with me. Liam's pounding got louder. You think you can just ruin my life? Get me fired? Derek sold the gym, Alara. Sold it. And the new owner told me to stay away from you or I'd lose everything. Was that you? He sounds drunk, I said into the phone. He probably is. He's been spiraling since our conversation. Stay away from the door. I heard sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Did you call the police? I asked. No, that's my security team. Of course it was. The pounding stopped suddenly. I heard shouting in the hallway. Liam's voice, angry and slurred. Then other voices, calm and controlled. They have him, Adam said. Don't open the door until I get there. Okay. Alara? Yes. You did the right thing. Using the panic button. Calling me. I was scared, I admitted. I know. I'm almost there. 2 minutes later, there was a knock. Different from Liam's aggressive pounding. Controlled. Measured. It's me. Adam's voice came through the door. I unlocked the deadbolt and pulled the door open. Adam stood there, slightly out of breath like he'd been running. Behind him, the hallway was empty except for 2 men in dark suits standing by the stairwell. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. Then his hands were on my shoulders, his dark eyes scanning my face. Are you hurt? No, just scared. He pulled me against his chest. I went willingly, pressing my face against his shirt, breathing in that sandalwood scent. His arms came around me, solid and warm and safe. I should have anticipated this, he said into my hair. He was being watched, but he managed to slip away from his apartment this morning. He won't get that chance again. What happens to him now? Now he learns what happens when he ignores warnings. I pulled back to look at him. You're not going to hurt him. No. But he'll spend the night in a holding facility. By morning, he'll be on a plane to visit his brother's college. He'll stay there for the next 6 months while he thinks about his choices. You can do that. I can do a lot of things. His hands came up to cup my face. But what I want to do right now is make sure you understand something. What? This won't happen again. Ever. I failed to protect you this morning, and that's unacceptable. You didn't fail. I'm fine. Your security got here before anything happened. You were scared. That's enough. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. Move in with me. I blinked. What? Move in with me. My building has actual security. Multiple exits. A team that watches everyone who comes and goes. You'll be safe. Adam, that's crazy. We've known each other for a week. 6 days, he corrected. And I don't care. I can't protect you properly when you're here. I need you somewhere. I can keep you safe. You can't just rearrange my entire life because you're worried. Yes, I can. And I am. He leaned his forehead against mine. Please, Alara, let me do this. Let me keep you safe the way I should have this morning. I closed my eyes. This was insane. Moving in with a man I barely knew. A man who declared me his after 30 hours. A man who bought me clothes and sent me dinner and had panic buttons installed in my apartment. But this same man had solved my 6-month nightmare in 12 hours, had held my hand in a cafe like I was something precious, had just run to my apartment because I'd pressed a button. Who was looking at me right now like the thought of me being scared was physically painful to him? Okay, I whispered. His arms tightened around me. Okay? Yes. I'll move in with you. I opened my eyes to find him staring at me with an intensity that took my breath away. But we need to talk about boundaries, and personal space, and the fact that you can't just make decisions for me. We'll talk about whatever you want, after you're safe. I'm safe right now. You're here. Something shifted in his expression. Softened. Yes, I am. He kissed my forehead, gentle and careful, like I was something fragile. Then he pulled out his phone. I'm having your things packed and moved today. You'll stay at my place tonight. Adam, I just said we need to talk about you making decisions for me. We will, tomorrow, after you've slept in a building with actual security. He looked at me. Please don't fight me on this. Not today. Not after this morning. I saw the fear underneath his control, the genuine terror that something could have happened to me. Okay, I said again. But tomorrow, we're having a serious conversation about how relationships work. His lips curved into a small smile. Is that what this is? A relationship? I don't know what else to call it. You've decided I'm yours. I'm apparently moving in with you. That seems relationship adjacent at minimum. Relationship adjacent, he repeated, and he was definitely smiling now. I can work with that. You're impossible. I'm yours, he said simply. Just like you're mine. And looking at him, at the relief in his eyes, at the way he was still holding me like he was afraid to let go, I realized something. I believed him. I'd been living with Adam for 2 weeks when he announced we were having dinner with Sarah. That's nice, I said, folding laundry in his massive bedroom. Our bedroom. I was still getting used to that. I've made reservations. Great. Where? The Meridian. I dropped the shirt I was holding. The Meridian? Adam, that place requires reservations 3 months in advance. I'm aware. And it costs more per plate than my rent used to cost per month. Also aware. He walked over and picked up the shirt I'd dropped, folding it with surprising precision. Wear the blue dress. The one you bought me? I bought you 12 dresses. You'll need to be more specific. The one from our first shopping trip. The one you said suited me. His eyes softened. That one. Yes. That should have been my first clue that something was happening. But I was too busy being nervous about Sarah meeting Adam properly. She'd seen him briefly when helping me move, but they hadn't really talked. The Meridian was exactly as expensive and intimidating as I'd imagined. We were seated at a private table in the back. Sarah arrived 10 minutes later, looking uncomfortable in a dress I'd never seen her wear. Did you buy her an outfit too? I whispered to Adam. She needed something appropriate for the venue. You sent my best friend clothes. I sent her options. She chose that one. Sarah sat down, eyeing Adam with undisguised suspicion. So you're the crime boss. Sarah, I hissed. What? He knows what he is. She turned back to Adam. Let's get this out of the way. If you hurt my best friend, I will find a way to hurt you back. I don't care how many tattoos you have or how many buildings you own. Adam's lips twitched. Noted. I'm serious. So am I. Your loyalty to Alara is admirable. He leaned back in his chair. I have no intention of hurting her. Ever. Good. Because she's been through enough. I know. That's why I'm going to make sure she never goes through anything like that again. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Sarah nodded slowly. Okay. I can work with that. Dinner was surprisingly pleasant. Adam was charming when he wanted to be, and Sarah slowly relaxed. By dessert, they were discussing the best self-defense techniques, and I was wondering how my life had gotten so weird. Then Adam stood up. My stomach dropped. No. He wasn't. He couldn't be. He was. Adam Silas, crime boss, terrifying man who declared ownership of me after 30 hours, pulled a small box from his pocket and got down on one knee beside our table. The entire restaurant went silent. Alara, he said, his voice calm and controlled like he was discussing the weather and not proposing in front of 50 strangers. I told you 6 days after we met that you were mine. I've spent the last 2 weeks proving it. Now I want to make it official. I stared at him. My mouth opened. No words came out. You're insane, I finally managed. We've known each other for 3 weeks. 3 weeks and 2 days. That's not better. That doesn't make this better. Marry me. It wasn't a question. Of course it wasn't a question. Adam didn't ask questions. He stated facts. Adam, you can't just propose because you've decided we're getting married. I'm not proposing because I've decided. I'm proposing because I love you. The words hit me like a physical blow. He'd never said that before. Never even hinted at it. You love me, I repeated numbly. Yes, I have since you looked at me like I was insane in my car and then got out anyway. Since you laughed at my intensity instead of being afraid of it. Since you pressed that panic button and trusted me to come for you. He opened the box. The ring inside was beautiful. Simple, elegant, probably cost more than a car. Marry me, Alara. I looked at Sarah for help. She was staring at Adam with her mouth open. Sarah, I pleaded, say something. I think you should say yes, she said weakly. What? You're supposed to be the voice of reason. He's a crime boss, Alara. He's literally on one knee in the middle of the Meridian. I don't think he's taking no for an answer. I'll take no for an answer, Adam said calmly. But I'll ask again tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day until you say yes. That's not how proposals work. That's how my proposals work. I looked around the restaurant. Everyone was watching, waiting. The pressure was enormous. I looked back at Adam, at his dark eyes that had seen too much, but looked at me like I was everything. at the slight vulnerability beneath his controlled expression, at the ring he was offering like he was offering his entire world. "You're completely insane," I said. "Is that a yes? This is crazy, we barely know each other. You're overbearing and controlling and you make decisions without consulting me and you think declaring ownership is romantic. Is that a yes?" He repeated. I thought about the last 3 weeks. The safety, the care, the way he'd held me after Liam showed up, the hand-holding in the cafe, the gentle forehead kisses, the way he looked at me every morning like he couldn't believe I was real. If I say yes, we're having a very long conversation about boundaries. We'll have whatever conversations you want, and you have to stop making every decision without asking me first. I'll try. Not good enough. You have to actually do it. I'll do it, he amended. I looked at Sarah again. She shrugged helplessly. "This is insane," I said one more time. "Is that a yes?" Adam's controlled facade was cracking slightly. He actually looked nervous. "Yes," I heard myself say. "Yes, I'll marry you, you absolute lunatic." He slid the ring onto my finger, then stood and pulled me into his arms. The restaurant erupted in applause. He kissed me, deep and thorough and possessive, and I kissed him back because apparently I'd completely lost my mind. When he finally pulled away, I was breathless and dizzy and engaged to a man I'd known for 3 weeks and 2 days. "I can't believe you just proposed in front of 50 people, I whispered against his lips. "I wanted witnesses so you couldn't back out. That's not romantic. It's effective." I started laughing. Because what else could I do? I was engaged to a crime boss who thought proposals were business transactions and that 3 weeks was plenty of time to decide to spend forever with someone. Sarah was staring at us like we'd both lost our minds. She was probably right. As we left the restaurant, Adam's hand firmly holding mine, the engagement ring heavy on my finger, I thought about the woman who'd run down that hallway with a suitcase 3 weeks ago. She'd been running from control, from fear, from losing herself. Now she was engaged to a man who declared ownership, made unilateral decisions, and thought boundaries were suggestions. I should have been terrified. Instead, I was laughing. Because somehow, impossibly, I'd found someone who saw me as something precious instead of something to possess. Someone who wanted to protect me instead of control me. Someone who was absolutely insane but loved me anyway. "What are you thinking?" Adam asked as we walked to the car. I looked up at him, at my intense, overbearing, slightly unhinged fiancé. "I'm thinking I've gotten myself into something completely crazy. Regrets? Ask me again in 50 years. He smiled. A real smile that transformed his whole face. "I will." And looking at that smile, at the promise in his eyes, I realized something. I'd run into that elevator fleeing one nightmare and crashed directly into another kind of insanity entirely. But this time, I was choosing to stay, even if that made me just as crazy as he was. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, wait until you see what's coming next. It's even more powerful and inspiring than you can imagine. So don't go anywhere. Click on that video showing on your screen right now to dive into another amazing story that will absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, you won't regret it.